Yeah, so looking here in lane 1, we have Purdue closest to us at the bottom of your screen. Lane 2, Boston University. Lane 3, Princeton. Lane 4, Georgetown. Lane 5, Grand Valley State University. And lane 6, UConn. Looking at the Purdue crew here, lane 1. And of course our Boston University crew in lane 2. Yeah, and we're just getting a good shot here. We can see the Princeton crew here with those orange and black blades. They're just approaching the right side of your screen now. And then Georgetown next to them.
Yeah. Grand Valley in the center of your screen right now.
And then UConn on the left side of your picture.
UConn blades a little bit close to those buoys again. Probably a little harder to lose a blade in those buoys with the big blades and sweep boats. It's certainly easier to lose it with sculling, but you don't want to be in those buoys because that's going to be a shock to your system if you clip one.
I'm going to throw out some anecdata here. We've seen a lot of these crews over in lane 1 ending up in the buoys off the start here. I'm wondering if there's maybe a little bit of current on that side of the river that tends to push these crews in, because we've seen it in many, many of our races today that we see those crews in lane 1 just dancing with those port buoys as they come through this first 500.
And you would think that because there is a curve that would push the water towards the outside of the course. And the current's not very strong, but it is a little bit there, so you might be seeing that.
Yeah. Luckily, we don't know that it's caused any major incidents. We haven't seen any big crabs or any major problems over on that side of the course, but it is maybe just something for these coxswains who might go back and watch this video to remember for next year.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember how wide these lanes are supposed to be. I think they're 40 feet, but I'm not 100% sure. But you can imagine the length of the blades, the width of the boat out there. You probably have about 10 feet on either side of the tips of the blades if you're dead center.
Yeah, so just these athletes are always going to be relying on these coxswains to do their best to keep them in the middle of the lanes. They don't want to get too close to their competitors lest they have some sort of blade clash. That's never a fun feeling.
And that Princeton boat looking very clean, making the turn a little bit ahead of BU. That means they've approached the bridge. The stagger would have put them behind at the start too. So if they're making that turn ahead of them, that puts them on par with what we think would be the leaders in the middle of the course.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. It does look like coming out of the turn that we have this Princeton boat probably leading that Georgetown boat to their left. I'd like to get a look at this Boston University crew that's going to be on their right and see how we are lined up with these crews.
The UConn over there on the far side has gone, it looks to have gone past Grand Valley in lane 5, but you also see the Princeton and Georgetown crews getting past the Grand Valley crew as well, but still trying to stay in the hunt there. UConn on the far side, but these two crews in the middle are just too fast for them. Princeton and Georgetown are just moving away from those two outside programs of Grand Valley and Connecticut.
Yeah, so Princeton just at 36 strokes a minute. I guess we have not confirmed with our homework and our lineups whether or not these are some of the lightweight athletes that we've maybe seen in some of the other entries from Princeton. But nice 36 strokes a minute from the Tigers there in the middle of the race course, which is a really, really nice race pace in an 8.
When we had that side shot of them just a second ago, I was watching the Princeton, and just the pry of their backs against the legs. And that's a hugely important thing. Your back is incredibly strong. It doesn't have to go very far, but it has to be able to hold that leverage against the push of the legs. And they were doing a great job of that.
Yeah, the biggest thing with the ergonomics of rowing is having a core and an upper body that can just handle the stress of all the strength that your lower body is producing and exerting on the upper body levers that you have. So that's where we end up with a lot of those issues that manifest in lower backs or in ribs in rowers, is just that those little muscles in your upper body tend to not be able to withstand the force that you're prying with the biggest muscles in your body, your glutes and your quads.
You know, for those uneducated in rowing, a lot of times I talk to people who've never really seen this before, and they're looking at it for the first time. They think you're doing it's an arm movement, and it's not. The arms are the least of everything out there. They have to follow through the acceleration to start with your legs and your back itself, but they will tire out if you're using them too soon, and then you can't really finish your stroke out efficiently.
Yeah, that's a really interesting concept to try and grasp as a young rower too. Just trying to control the blade through the water with your upper body, with that fine dexterity in your hands and your arms, and not trusting your lower body to do that work for you. But it looks like the Princeton athletes have figured it out. They are in front here and leading the way in this grand final of the women's Varsity 8 over their rivals from Georgetown on their starboard side. And it does look like these two crews are well out in front of the rest of the field. The rest of the field maybe being led by Boston University there in lane 2.
Princeton now past the wires, 300 meters to go. They're rowing 40 strokes a minute.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say this might be the lightweights. What do you think?
It might be.
No matter what, 40 strokes a minute at this stage in the race in an 8 is very, very impressive and definitely worthy of a grand final in a women's Varsity 8 race. So here they come, the Tigers of Princeton University, into the last 250 of this grand final. And they are leading the Hoyas. The Hoyas absolutely not out of it. It is a very small margin, all things considered. We're looking at maybe 4 seats here.
And look at those backs prying through, just whipping through against the legs. The legs are pushed as hard as they can, and they're accelerating the backs through to send that boat past.
Yeah, look at that beautiful blade work in the Tiger boat as they are moving toward the line. Georgetown definitely still in it. It could go their way if Princeton does not stay on offense here. But Princeton continues to lead the Hoyas all the way to the line. They are going to be your Dad Vail champions. Can see that smile starting to come across the face of that Princeton stroke woman. She knows that she has led her crew to victory. She takes a look over, and it is a big grin.
And you've got that Boston University and Grand Valley for the bronze, and I don't know which one. That was too close to call as they went by here as well.